Once upon a zany, crazy, banana-filled day, under a blazing sun, when life gives you bananas, make banana splits, said the wise minion proverb. It was a sunny day. Bob and Phil, the wackiest minions on the block, decided to hit the mall for a shopping spree. Laughter echoed as they swung from store to store, grabbing goodies faster than you could say banana. Suddenly, Phil clutched his stomach, face scrunching in pain. "Oh no, a banana bellyache," Bob exclaimed. With quick thinking and unparalleled minion strength, Bob hoisted Phil onto a nearby trolley. Off they zoomed, knocking over baskets, mirrors, and all the fruits flying in the air. Stall owners shouted, "Take cover," as they see the wheelchair crashing and knocking down fruits on the walkway. Pandemonium broke out. Fruits tumbled and collapsed everywhere. Apples, oranges, mangoes, papayas, watermelons, pineapples, and pears rolling like a fruity avalanche. One of the apples came to life and yelled, "Ouch! Ouch! Don't kick me." The oranges shouted, "Stampede coming this way. Run! Run! For life." Other fruits rolled in separate ways, avoiding being smashed up. Their adventure went viral faster than a cat video. By morning, Bob was notorious, a true internet sensation. The plot builds up. As he walked to work, he spotted in the garden a gleamed brand-new wheelchair. The miserly Bob saw an opportunity. Looking around to ensure no one was watching, he grabbed it. But alas, the company's boss, Mrs. Nellie, saw everything and summoned security. "Why are you taking that wheelchair?" Mrs. Nellie inquired sternly. In a panic, Bob concocted a tale. "My brother Phil needs it after an accident." Touched by his supposed plight, Mrs. Nellie let him go. News about the commotion at the mall reached Mrs. Nellie's ears. Connecting the dots, she realized that Phil, the cameraman at her company, was the same Phil on the trolley. Curious, she visited the factory. To her surprise, Phil was up and about. How could he recover so fast? Mrs. Nellie failed to comprehend. Phil stammered, I have a twin brother, Philip, who's handicapped." Mrs. Nellie, wanting to help, requested to meet Philip. Bob and Phil scrambled for excuses, but Mrs. Nellie was resolute. The next morning, the stage was set. Philip, in a wheelchair, sipping coffee, greeted Mrs. Nellie. Bob blurted, "Phil is doing office work in another room." But Mrs. Nellie wanted to see both twins together. Panic ensued. More surprises to be unrevealed as you continue to watch till the end. Philip suddenly needed to go to the toilet. Behind closed doors, Philip switched outfits and emerged as Phil. But Mrs. Nellie was not fooled. "Where's Phil?" she demanded. This charade repeated until a colleague smartly recorded Phil's costume changes. Mrs. Nellie, watching the footage, learned of Phil's dual personality syndrome. Mrs. Nellie sympathized and exclaimed, "Thinking Phil is not smart, but do not know Phil needs psychological help." Touched by the family's secret, she handed them a $500,000 check for treatment. In the cafeteria the next morning, Bob, Phil, and their colleagues celebrated their victory. Bob says Mrs. Nellie signed a check for $500,000 for treatment and research. As Phil toasted to their success, a medical team barged in and gave Phil a jab. Guess what happens next? Mrs. Nellie stepped in and said to Bob, "Phil needs this jab for life. It's the best I can do." Phil, bewildered, asked Bob, "Oops, why me? Why me? Bob, how can you agree to all these?" shouted Phil. The whole cafeteria was filled with laughter. Everyone in the cafeteria erupted in laughter, their joyous guffaws echoing through the halls. Sometimes the biggest accidents lead to the most wonderful discoveries, and true friends can turn any disaster into something sweet. Moral of the story: friendship is like a banana split, sweet, delightful, and best enjoyed together.